I never believed in ghosts. Not really. Sure, I watched the late-night paranormal shows. I even fell down a Samandcolby rabbit hole more times than I care to admit. Headphones in, lights off, letting their shaky night vision footage sink into my half-skeptical mind. But that was entertainment. Thrills. Popcorn horror for insomniacs. What I wasn't prepared for, what I couldn't have imagined, was that some of it might be real. It started with a dare. Technically a bet. I was at a friend's going-away party in LA. Cheap drinks, too loud music. The kind of crowd where everyone's just a little too into astrology or psychedelics. We were playing this game, one thing you'd never do alone. Someone said skydiving, someone else said visit Chernobyl. When it was my turn, half drunk and cocky, I laughed and said, spend a night alone in room B340. That got some looks, a few nervous chuckles. Someone said, isn't that the haunted room on the Queen Mary? Someone else added, people go insane in there. One guy clawed his own eyes out, no joke. I should have laughed it off. But the alcohol made me brave, and my pride made me stupid. I said I'd do it. Alone, no crew, no live stream, just me and whatever was waiting in that room. I even shook on it. A week later, I was checking in. The Queen Mary sits in Long Beach like a whale that forgot how to swim. Majestic, yes, but there's something about her that feels stuck. Retired from sea duty in '67, turned into a floating hotel, a museum of sorts. But something about her steel bones, her long, echoing corridors and heavy silence, makes her feel like she's still waiting to depart. The day I arrived was overcast. Gray skies made the harbor look like old film stock, muted and dead. I walked up the gangway with my backpack, phone charger, and a growing unease I kept pretending was just nerves. Check-in was weird. The woman at the desk was polite, professional, but when I asked specifically for room B340, her face changed. Not scared, more like resigned. You're sure? She asked. It's being renovated. I didn't blink. I was told it was available with a waiver. She hesitated, then reached beneath the counter and handed me a clipboard. Waiver of liability. Guest acknowledges all risk associated with overnight stay in B340. Management is not responsible for psychological trauma, physical harm, or persistent nightmares. I signed. She gave me the keycard without another word. But as I turned to leave, I swear I heard her mutter, just don't open the bathroom door after midnight. I laughed. Then I noticed she didn't. The elevator groaned on the way up, as if the ship was warning me. Or mourning. Deck B was colder than the others. Not freezing, but dense. The air felt like it had weight. The hallway to room B340 was narrow, dimly lit by old brass sconces. The carpet underfoot was damp, not wet exactly, but like it remembered being soaked. I stopped outside the door. It was already ajar, not wide open, not swinging, just cracked, inviting. Inside was darker than it should have been. I stepped in. Room B340 is small, cramped really, like they gave up halfway through designing it. One twin bed, bolted to the floor, a desk with a dead lamp, a porthole that had been sealed shut with rust decades ago. The bathroom sat off to the right, door half closed, mirror catching just enough of me to look wrong, like my reflection wasn't moving quite right. I stood still for a moment, listening. Nothing. Not silence. Nothing. No creaks. No engine hum. No distant footsteps. Just that kind of stillness that makes your ears ring. I set my phone on the desk, started a voice recorder just in case, more for a laugh than evidence, and sat on the bed. The mattress was too firm, cold, unwelcoming. I remember thinking, I've slept in worse. But I didn't sleep. By midnight, the air had changed. It was subtle at first, like the room was holding its breath. I was lying in bed, fully clothed, phone in hand, scrolling aimlessly, pretending not to notice how the walls seemed to lean in the corners. The dim overhead light buzzed softly, a low whine like a fly trapped in a jar. I didn't feel tired, more like stalled, suspended. Then, just after 12:13 a.m., the overhead light flickered once, and the room got colder. Not winter cold, not AC cold, inside your bones cold. A chill that curled around your spine and whispered something you couldn't quite hear. I sat up, looked around. The bathroom door was still half closed. Still. Then I saw the mirror. It had fogged over. No heat, no steam. I hadn't used the sink, hadn't touched the water. But there it was, condensation bleeding down the glass like sweat down skin. I stood. I walked to the bathroom door. My hand paused on the knob. It was warm. Everything else was cold, but that handle was warm, like someone had just let go of it. I opened the door. The light was on, but dim, flickering like an old bulb in a horror movie. The mirror was completely fogged, and in the center of the fog, written in slow, uneven letters, "He's not done." I didn't move. My legs wanted to run, but my brain was still processing what I was seeing. I wiped the mirror, nothing behind me, just me, and the sound of dripping, drip, 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 from the bathtub, but the faucet wasn't running. Still, water pooled slowly around the base of the tub, inching outward across the tile floor, like something bleeding. I backed out, closed the door slowly. Didn't lock it. Didn't dare. I sat back on the bed and hit record on my phone. I whispered everything I had seen, just in case, just to anchor myself. That's when I heard it. A knock. Not from the hallway. From the inside. The bathroom door. Tap, tap, tap. I froze. It came again. Tap, tap, tap. Polite. Rhythmic. Like someone asking to be let out. I didn't answer. The tapping stopped, then came the voice. Not loud, not angry. Just soft, wet, gurgled. Don't leave me here. My skin prickled. Every hair on my arms lifted. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. I picked up my phone and spoke directly into it. There's someone in the bathroom. Then, against everything my brain was screaming, I stood up. I walked to the door. My hand shook as I reached for the knob again. This time, it was ice cold. I opened it. The lights were out. No fog, no water, no sound. Empty, but not clean. The air smelled like mildew and old soap. And something else, like pond water. Decay. On the floor, wet footprints. Bare, human, leading from the tub to the edge of the mirror. Then, nowhere. I shut the door again, sat back on the bed, didn't sleep, didn't move. Just stared at that door until my eyes stopped blinking. At 3:07 a.m., I reviewed the voice recording. It caught the knock. It caught my voice. But at the 28-minute mark, another voice, low, raspy, overlapped mine. It said, "He's still in the water." I didn't recognize the voice, but it sounded close. Too close. Like it was whispering into the phone. By 4 a.m., I'd stopped trying to rationalize any of it. I hadn't slept, hadn't moved much, just sat in that tiny metal frame chair, facing the bathroom door, like it might open again. The porthole was still sealed, though it had started to rattle softly. Not from wind. There was no wind, no sea, just the echo of pressure, a hollow metallic breath. Then I remembered the footage. My phone, still recording from earlier. It had picked up the knocks, the voice, But maybe, just maybe, it caught something else. I opened the video from around midnight and scanned forward. There I was, lying on the bed, eyes closed, silent. Then, motion, from the bathroom. Something shifted in the dark behind the open door. I turned the volume up, the faintest creak. A shape emerged, just for a second. Pale, elongated, a flash of a shoulder, maybe a hand. Then it melted back into the dark. It wasn't me, and it wasn't a shadow. It had form, weight. I rewound, watched again. The same movement, the way it stepped, deliberate, jerky, like every joint resisted its own body. The bathroom door in the video creaked open a few inches more. Then, nothing. The rest of the footage was static. I shut the phone off. I couldn't look at it again. The light overhead flickered once, twice, then went out. Dark. Not total blackness, just deep, watery shadow. A little moonlight filtered through the porthole, casting a thin gray beam across the floor. Then came the sound again. Drip, drip, drip. Louder this time. Closer. I stood and walked to the door. It was open again. Only halfway. And now on the mirror, "Help me out." Written in smeared, wet lines. This time there was no fog, just those words, clear. Shaking. I turned on the flashlight on my phone and stepped inside. The tub was wet, still full. Still full. Water, perfectly still. But something sat at the bottom, pressed against the curve of the basin. A shadow, darker than the rest, submerged. I leaned closer. The water rippled. Not from me. From beneath, a face emerged. Mouth first, then eyes, staring upward. Hair swirled around it, floating like seaweed. Its lips moved, but there were no bubbles, just silence. I stumbled back, hit the wall, and the light in the bathroom popped, exploded in a shower of sparks. Everything went black. I don't remember how long I sat on the floor. I know I was crying. Not loud, not sobbing, just quietly leaking, like something in me had given up. The water in the tub stopped moving. When I finally dared to look again, the face was gone. The tub was empty, dry, but on the tile floor, written in what looked like rust, or blood, or both, "You let him out." That was it. I grabbed my bag, didn't even zip it, and rushed to the door. It wouldn't open. The keycard didn't work. I yanked, slammed, kicked, nothing. Then, behind me, the slow sound of bare feet on tile. Slap, slap, slap. Closer, I turned. He was there, not angry, not rushing, just watching me. Water dripped from his chin. His skin had the color of old paper, wrinkled, sunken, translucent, eyes wide, milky. He raised one hand, not in threat, in invitation. I screamed, louder than I ever have in my life. I backed into the corner, kicked at the dresser, smashed the mirror with the lamp. Nothing stopped him. Then, nothing. He was gone, like he'd never been there. Except now, the bed was wet, soaked, salt water, and my bag empty. Everything inside it, gone. When the door finally opened, I fell into the hallway like I'd been spit out. The air outside room B340 was warmer, normal, alive. The hallway lights buzzed, and I saw a janitor down the corridor. He looked at me, paused. "Another one?" he asked quietly. I didn't answer. He just nodded, said, "Room's always hungry." Then he walked on, mop squeaking softly behind him. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. I wandered the ship, barefoot, soaked, still shivering. Every hallway seemed longer than it should. Every porthole showed only blackness, no hint of the California coastline. I felt like the ship had swallowed me whole, By dawn, I made it to the front desk. The clerk looked up from her monitor and froze. Her face paled. "You came from B340? I nodded. She didn't ask anything else, just handed me a towel and said, "Most don't." I left without my things, didn't even look back. I Ubered to a motel half a mile from the harbor, locked the door, closed the curtains, sat on the edge of the bed and tried to forget. But I couldn't, because that night, when I finally passed out, I dreamed of water. Endless black water pressing against my skin, filling my mouth, and a voice, muffled and wet, whispering, "He needed a door." A week later, the Queen Mary called me. They found my phone and was still recording when staff entered the room. Apparently, it never shut off. They sent it back in a padded envelope with a post-it. "You should see this." When I finally had the nerve, I opened the file. It was mostly static, garbled sound, nothing clear, but near the end, there was one frame, just one, frozen. Clear, me, asleep in bed. Behind me, reflected in the mirror, a face, smiling, sopping wet. Teeth long and uneven, eyes hollow. And in its hand, my phone. Things didn't stop there. For the next month, water followed me. Not metaphorically, literally. My new phone would wake me in the night with the sound of dripping, even though there was no leak. The carpet by my bed was always damp in the mornings, and sometimes in mirrors, hotel mirrors, bathroom mirrors, store windows, I catch a second reflection. Mine and his, standing just behind me, watching, waiting. I tried researching, found a few old stories about room B340. A man drowned in the tub back in the 40s. Officially, he slit his wrists, but crew stories, they say he was found smiling, like he wanted it, like something had called him there. His name was Edward Chilton. Passenger log lists him as a marine engineer, but I found a journal entry buried in a forum, dated 1946. He wrote, "There's something in the pipes. I can hear it crawling. I see it when I sleep. The ship is holding it in place, but the room is his anchor." After that, I stopped staying in hotels, stopped using mirrors. I covered everyone in my apartment, but they always fogged up from the inside. And sometimes, just before falling asleep, I'd hear the sound. Tap, tap, tap. Not on the door, from beneath the bed. The last straw? 3 days ago. I woke up, choking. Not a cold, not the flu. Water. Salt water. I coughed up enough to soak the mattress, and on the mirror, the only uncovered one behind my bedroom door, in tiny streaked letters, "He won't leave." So now, I'm going back. I booked room B340 again. I know how it sounds, but I need answers. I need to know if it's him or me. Maybe I let him out. Maybe I am the door now. Either way, tonight, I sleep on the Queen Mary. And this time, I'm bringing chains. If he wants to follow me out again, he'll have to drag the whole goddamn ship with him.